Ryan, I am tired.
Me too, actually, man. Today was a chill, lazy day for me.
Oh, you're the good kind of tired?
Yeah, I guess. I mean, I'm tired from a busy week, and I know it's the start of the week, but I'm tired.
It feels like it's Friday for some reason.
I'm tired of the last week. We had a long D&D combat session. Then I had work, and then I had class. But today I had some froyo. I love me some good froyo.
So hold on, we went to get froyo one time when I was down there, didn't we?
Yeah.
Was that your first time having it?
No, I've had froyo a lot.
Okay.
In my hometown is a great store there. I'm gonna shout them out because I don't think they're local.
Don't dox your parents.
No, it's not. It's not a local place, but it's called Spoons, and their slogan is "Come spoon with us." Now, imagine you're a middle schooler, right? And you go to this spoon place, this froyo place, and you buy yourself I guess your parents buy yourself a t-shirt, and now you're a 10-year-old child walking around with a shirt that says "Come spoon with us." It's a little weird, but a lot of people did that. I remember my middle school and high school were filled with kids wearing that t-shirt.
10-year-old. I think that's, it doesn't matter, but I think that's elementary school, at least within the U.S.
All right, well,
I think it's like 11 to 14 or something like that. Somewhere around there.
When's so there's elementary school, then it's intermediate or middle school, and then it's high, right? Yeah,
middle school. What do you mean? You did this?
Well, let me tell you. So my town had elementary 1 to 4, then had 5 and 6, and it's in a separate school. And then across the street was 6 and 7, and then it was 8, 9, 10, 11, 12.
Do you live in a small area?
No.
I mean, I knew of schools that had this is our middle school, and they've got a sanctioned off place for the elementary school, and it's all connected.
There were separate schools. There were 2 separate schools just across the street from each other.
No, for me it was. I did pre-K, and then you had kindergarten, and then you had elementary. So that's 1 through 5, and the middle school was.
Wait, elementary is 1 through 5 for you?
Yes, that's the typical thing. Is 1 through 5.
Interesting.
Yes, and the middle is just 6, 7, 8, and then high school are the last numbers until 12.
So high school for you, your high school only had 3 grades in it?
4, 3.
Well,
hold on. Yeah, it's 4.
Okay.
To 12.
Yeah, but you said 9, 10, 11, 12.
Doing combat is a nightmare for me, dude. I have to have calculators everywhere.
Oh my God.
It's middle school is.
No, you're right.
4, 5, 6.
Yeah.
Wait, I don't want to do math anymore.
I see. But those grades were the bomb. Now so once you get out of elementary school, that's when you start getting a little bit of freedom. They take the reins off just a little bit. I remember they let you kind of walk yourself to class in some places after once you build that trust. From my school, we had to carry around a bucket, and it was like our locker. This bucket had everything we needed inside of it. We didn't have lockers there, so we just walked around this big bucket.
They were in the school. They just didn't let us use them.
And then you had Foursquare. Foursquare's a bop. I didn't play. I was the referee because I was not good enough, and I didn't have enough friends, so I was the guy who was calling all the shots and annoying everybody.
You were like, dude, cherry bomb now.
Into the cherry. See, the best way to play Foursquare.
Go for corners.
Well, I just mean rule-wise, you just got to keep it simple. You can't have if someone gets on the king square and they're like, all right, here's all the things you can do, and they talk, it sounds like they're talking about some candy store, that's when you know you should probably go to a different square. I mean, this kid's serious.
It's cutthroat, man. That's how the real world is.
Cherry bombs, get out of here.
Cherry bomb. No, there was a really, really bad wipeout I had. You see all those cartoons or movies where you've got a stunt double walking backwards and they flip over a bench. I pretty much did that. It was one of the worst falls I've ever had in my life trying to catch a cherry bomb. Just whoop, little short me, perfectly equilibrium to just seesaw over this chair. It was a bad.
And the opposite of those were called not baby drops, where you just
you
walk
act
up
and then just
those are stupid. I was a camp counselor and there were kids that did stuff like that, and I just wanted to shove the ball in their face.
Hey, whoa. Hopefully none of those people are watching this right now, Ryan.
Oh.
Holy shit.
I didn't. I laughed it off and said, hey, you better watch it, kid.
All right. Well, amongst all of these rules, some things might be forgotten. And the thing that I'm tired about And this happened a lot, from work to me like doing job searches. I don't know what it is about Gmails that don't get used a ton, where things that are important get categorized away from the main inbox. It's not just the thing you and I are coordinating on right now. It's happened before, and I'm so tired of it.
Happens a lot. I don't like Google is deciding for me.
Ryan doesn't like Google. This is our stand right now. You hear that, Google?
Hang on. Google's deciding for me what I think is. I think we can change. I think we can change our categories, but default wise, it has like the updates, the primary, the social tabs and stuff. It decides for me. Usually, it's pretty accurate, at least with the social stuff. But yeah, some things get categorized
missed, like, everything
randomly.
on the. I always check our email because we never really get anything, and sometimes it's like a little piece of candy. We get something. I'm like, oh, and I just like, I'm going to check the update set. We had like 2 things, 3 things.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, we'll get that stuff done. But
and then spam too.
Yeah, there's always spam.
Dude, I get a lot of spam on my personal account, and it's stuff. It's acts like I signed up for things that I know I was never near. It's if someone were to look in that, they're like, man, this guy signs up for a lot of weird shit.
Well, what happens is they send that to you, and then you click on it, and it signs you up.
Yeah.
They're sneaky. They're very sneaky.
Or you get a virus.
What else? You know what else is sneaky?
Ninjas.
Well, they are. They tend to be. Okay, for some reason you said that. I just started thinking about Monster Hunter. I have 110 hours in that game right now.
Oh my god.
We're going,
I actually
dude.
haven't put any hours in this week, unfortunately. I've been too busy.
Have you gotten far at all?
No, I'm still working on it.
Well, think about it this way. Monster Hunter right now is like my mainstay. I always have one thing I'm doing. You know that. I go
That's
in.
True.
Genshin was it for a long time, and now it's on the back burner. I'm doing popping in and out every now and again, but it's Monster Hunter for now. They got another update coming at the end. But everybody's got their main thing. Sometimes you just want to do a side thing,
Yeah.
Sometimes you just want to go away from your main shtick, and then you meet up with some new people. You do a new thing. You have a good time, right?
Yeah, or it's someone's first time doing something, or you want to experiment around,
I don't. The phrasing for all of this is bad. We're talking about one-shots this week. I just want to get that out of here.
Differently than last time. So we have talked about one-shots in the past.
Yes. And what I mean with one-shots and whatnot is this is one of the first times I did a one-shot last week.
Yeah.
And it feels weird because I've only been under Ryan's DM tutelage for an extended period of time. Kenneth, who is on the Dungeon Chronicles, shout out to, oh, wait a minute. He's Ryan.
He's Braxton.
This is the Dungeon Crawl. We're talking about one-shots.
One-shots, but
Kenneth has
specifically
DM'd before. Yes.
Characters in one-shots.
Yeah, because I have an issue, and he knows about it.
I do.
Ryan knows about it.
Couple
where
issues,
I know what I like to play. I know what I want to play as, right? And like almost to quote Ryan, I presented 2 builds, and it's a multi-class. For this one shot, I'm trying something fancy. We're throwing Paladin in there. Yeah, it's not a Warlock. One of my options was a Paladin Warlock multi-class. The other one was a Sorcerer. And Ryan was like,
no,
Sorcerer.
Both the ones you presented were both Warlocks. One was Hexblade. One was
No.
Yeah, wasn't the other
Shouldn't
one also a Warlock?
Well, I was messing with him, so the time you clicked on it might have messed
okay.
up. But it was I don't know if it was Aberrant Sorcerer. No, it was Celestial.
Celestial, that's what it
was. Celestial Sorcerer for like super focused healing and whatnot. But I was experimenting. I ended up going with Warlock, but it's fine. And you'll notice a few things within.
Still tried something new though. Multi-class with
it
Paladin.
played entirely different than what I'm used to.
That's what one-shots are for.
Are they?
Yeah.
Let's talk about that. I'm just kidding. This isn't Good Mythical Morning. But we've tired ourselves out with. I guess Candlekeep. So we're like, all right, what are some easy digestible topics? And I played my one shot, and we're like, all right, I'm going to try to think of something that we're going to do during this one shot. And I realized I spent probably 3 hours thinking about what to do about my one shot character, that the session's probably also going to be about 3 or 4 hours. It's like, dude, so I don't want you guys to have to go through that. You can spend as much as you want on character creation, but let's start, I guess, at an earlier position. Okay. For Ryan, because I know you've only been in one shot or two. Mine that didn't finish, and then our players in your campaign that you run for me.
Yes, I've run a couple, but I've only been a player in 2 of them.
And I think you got characters presented to you for both.
Yes.
So let's start fresh. For you, let's think about what you've done for Romano and the Dungeon Chronicles, our actual play podcast. Go check that out if you guys want to. Go check it out. You made a character knowing you're going to play them for a long time, or supposedly, right?
Ideally, yeah.
Ideally. So let's say, Kenneth or I or somebody else, Jamie, was putting together a one-shot. How would you approach it differently? And you don't have to have all the answers right now. I didn't need you to prepare stuff. I just want you to genuinely, organically go through it right now. How might you differently approach it?
I would, starting wise, if I knew I was playing a one shot, I would immediately try to make something I've never played before. Something fun, something different. Now, before that, though, I think you bring up an interesting concept for DMs. Is it better for your one shot to make characters and present those as options to your players, or to make them make stuff? Because like you said, the two that I played in, there were options presented to me. And if you were to pick up, say, Minds of Phandelver, the starter set for D&D, granted it is the starter set, so this might be why they do that, but they have character sheets in there for you to just hand out to your friends and say, hey, pick one. I think there's benefits and detriments to both. Benefits being that, A, it's boom, you can just hop into the game. And you can also specifically tie in that character to the one shot and make them. It's because I think we talked about in our one shot episode, it's harder to get players to care about one shots because you're in it for such a short amount of time.
Yeah.
But if you do that, there's at least some connections. Like Braxton and I, and the one that we played, we were both players. We were brothers, I believe, and so we at least had that connection to kind of play off of each other. Yeah, that was fun. And I think that's cool. That's cool for DMs if they want to do that, but it's also a lot of extra work. Mm-hmm. So if I'm making my own player character, then I definitely try to make something different, something a little off the cuff, something that obviously you still want to be with the group, but it's not something you have to think about and say, okay, well, this person has to be willing to be with a group long term. I might just be a random mercenary that's all right, I'm gonna go group up with these guys for a mission, and then you don't have to like everybody. You can get out of that mission afterwards. I think that'd be my initial thought process. Trying to make something that I am okay with experimenting with and trying something fun and weird.
My experimenting and trying something fun and weird was not doing a solo warlock class.
Yeah, I mean, multi-classing is still, it's something to try because it's so much harder to do in an actual campaign because you feel like you're wasting 2 or 3 levels until you finally get the juicy stuff. So you did 3 levels of paladin, 3 levels of warlock, so you're kind of getting a little bit deeper into the multi-classing experience.
Well, levels, that's the place to start. There, for every one shot, and we most likely mentioned this, and we mention it for all campaigns, of course, there should be a session 0, or at least an info drop. Hey, DM, what's going on? And somebody in our Discord, his tag, JDog is how we call him. Congrats to him. He did really well in this regard whenever we asked him, what levels are we playing at? What do we need to roll for our stats? He gave us all his house rules, etc. And he gave us our barriers, essentially. It was level 6. And at that point, I know, level 6, solo class isn't going to be absolutely bonkers. This is a time for me to be able to experiment, because if I, in a campaign, like Ryan said, did a multi-class, if you're double dipping, it really feels like you're having your character's potency because you're split between 2 things, but you've got a lot of variety.
Multi-classing is really something in a longer campaign you would do near the end. Just I'm kind of getting bored as a rogue. Let's add a little something extra into it.
Yeah. Oh man, as a warlock, getting extra spell slots is juicy, but then you're stuck with level 1 spell slots the entire time, like I was, and it felt a bit weird, but it's all right. So that's the first place to start, and then from there, it's kind of part hitting the books, literally, jumping into the classes and just kind of seeing what you gravitate towards, or maybe you've got that side character that you're ready to do, and your character in your main campaign's about to die. It hasn't happened yet. You know what, screw it, bite the bullet and run them then. So maybe you have a reservoir of people to jump into. So for this one shot, my thought process when I jumped in is always, when I'm doing one shot, I want to make a min-max character. I want to make them as efficient as I can. This is an approach for everybody. You can definitely do what Ryan does a lot and make them unique, which can be insanely powerful, or it can be, kind of not powerful, but more fun, maybe.
Quirky.
I don't know. Quirky. There's a lot of wonky things that you might have come across on subreddits. Like, go on forums and browse some of these weird combos and make sure your DM's okay with it, because
try out some of the DM's Guild stuff or third-party material that is focused on adding new classes or races and stuff. This is a good way to try out stuff and say, oh, wow, yeah, I probably shouldn't use this in a campaign because it's actually pretty broken, or, wow, this is really weak, so I'm not going to ever want to play this class.
Yeah, push boundaries for a one-shot, though, because your DM might be a bit more comfortable with you doing those sorts of game-breaking things.
Yeah, like with my one-shots, I'm always about like 100%. I mean, we do some rule of cool in our games for sure, but
yeah,
I'd push it even farther for one-shots because who cares, right? At the end of the session, no one's going to be doing this anymore, so it's not a big deal.
Yeah, and in a campaign, the party dynamic is already really important, but less so because your DM can adjust the encounters as they go along. But in a one-shot, a lot of the time the DM's prepped a very good portion of it, unless they're doing a 100% improv. So in my case, it was lucky. It's like you're playing Overwatch and everybody's jumped into their certain characters. I like filling in. I like filling in the gaps and figuring out what we need. D&D isn't super competitive. This isn't like, what is it? What's the old competitive thing they used to run at conventions? Dungeon League? What is it?
Adventurers League?
Adventurers League. It's not like that. It can be. But in my case, we had somebody doing a homebrew class that they made themselves. If you're interested in that, our good friend in the Discord as well made an entire witch class kind of based around hags at a coven. And they get different stuff. If you're interested in that, jump in our Discord. Link should be in the description of that. So I have no idea how that plays. They say it buffs a lot. It's supporting. All right, I probably want to do DPS. My other player is a bard. I think they were a bard.
Does he remember? He did live through the experience. It was one
shot.
The
reason is they were entrapped in Everard's black tentacles for a large portion of the time, so it was kind of rough. I ended up making my character a paladin, but kind of speccing into more battlefield manipulation because I don't know what the hell's going to happen. Right? It's like. All of D&D is like this, but imagine your first playthrough in Dark Souls. A lot of people end up doing what, Ryan? I'm going to do a pop quiz for you. What do they end up doing in Dark Souls?
On the first playthrough? Hybrid strength and dex.
Yep. And why? Why do you think?
Because you don't know what the other stats really do, I would say. I didn't know what the other ones really did, and it seems so hard to kind of get magic and stuff going, so like, all right, I'm just going to pick up the sword and go to town.
Exactly, just being able to pick up stuff and go to town. You don't know what items are where, what requirements they have, what's going on. You can kind of get a feel in a campaign of where you're going because most of the time you lead the progression with the DM's guiding hand. You know you're going to go fight some like fish people. Maybe you want something that hurts fish people a little more. Maybe don't hurt fish people because they're good. They're good people too. They can be. In this case, I had no idea what the hell this one-shot was because literally all J-Dog had mentioned is a lot of people in this fishing town have been dying a lot. Okay. And all I could get from that was like, okay, Lovecraft inspired. I was wrong. I ended up being wrong.
Damn.
But I made a character that could protect and alter the battlefield and prevent people from hurting others while also still dealing out damage. I found the slot that my character could fit into to assure that we didn't die because our DM said combat is going to be kind of rough. And Ryan, oh my God, don't play in J-Dog's games because his combat's going to eat you in the booty.
I see that's the thing about one shots though. They can be harder than an actual campaign because if someone dies, who cares? Obviously, you don't want them to die in like the first encounter because then they're out for the whole session unless you just say, hey, let's roll up another one for you real quick. But yeah, I'd say definitely boss fights and stuff in one-shots crank up that difficulty. For DMs, listen to what we're saying about players too and do the exact same thing. Mess around with builds, have some weird, for example, you could have a creature that stuns people, then there's a will-o-wisp in there that can suck out their life in a second, fun stuff like that. So toss in some weird ideas, encounters that you might be holding on to, and then let loose with it.
Yeah. And in our case, he had a homebrewed Lich. And we're level 6, Ryan.
Yeah.
So we hear Lich, and at least me and Koss, who have played a great amount of D&D, and our other friend in Discord as well, who's really new to it. I'm super glad he's giving it a shot. I'm like, J-Dog? A Lich? He goes, it's okay, I promise. I'm like, I don't know what you're talking about here. So we kept going, and he like chunked out some of the levels. Just imagine a Lich as if they weren't like level 20 or something. They don't have all of their spells, etc. But within this one shot, whenever it started, it was really hard to get into it for the same reason Ryan mentioned earlier, because it's like you're not invested in a bunch of stuff. That hook has to be amazing. And it kind of started in media res, which J-Dog did really well. But for me, and Ryan knows this, I check out so easily, so quickly.
He does.
And I think what I could have done better, God damn it, what I could have done better is giving my character kind of triggers for personality quirks or things that they want to do. So whenever you're making like your ideals and stuff, and I would almost say this is when you maybe should bring alignment back in. Looking at Ryan's face. Okay, hey, ooh, what are your thoughts on bringing alignment in for one shots as a character? Why do you think I would bring it up?
Just for like a very quick, compass to put you on.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And if you're playing something that you're like uncomfortable with, I always do chaotic neutral because that's the sign that you don't want to play with what's it called, alignments. I just want to do whatever. It's like, okay, I get it, you don't want to be tied down to one thing. That's when you understand. But for me, I wanted to do I think I did a lawful neutral character, which isn't outreaching a bunch, but I wanted to make it to where if there was an evil doer or an undead, I would aggressively kill them or try to hunt them down or put them to rest, because I was a paladin, I had rights. Another thing is that I was playing a paladin, so I had these constricted things to follow. These, what is it?
The oaths.
The oaths. It was against violence. So I realized that like halfway, and I had to re-stick myself to it, but it put me in this really interesting situation when we were on this boat and we were trying to steal this crate. And I did, what's it called? Detect good and evil. Yeah. And randomly out of nowhere, J-Dog is like, yeah, those two guys like 30 feet away from you that are playing cards that your friend ran by, yeah, they're undead. And I went, huh? And we had the cart, we were ready to get out. And I just said, you know what? Nope, those guys are undead and I need to go take care of them right now. And they're like, you're going to compromise the mission right now? So that's the kind of stuff that makes it a bit more fun. Like putting wrenches in it, sticking that, tire iron in your bicycle on yourself. It makes it a bit more fun.
Yeah. I mean,
not
that's
like
why,
purposefully, but
sure. But that's why the benefit of like a DM giving you characters, like when we played our one shot and we were brothers, I said, our friend gave us purposes and reasons why we were going on this adventure. And we all kind of had our own motives and stuff. So we're kind of like trying to backstab each other the whole way too. It was really interesting. And it added it kind of got us through that awkward early stage of not really caring about it, because we do, if you're, kind of getting into your character, if you get into your character and you have the purpose in front of you, yeah, I'm already invested. I want to go to this place. Granted, you as the player may not care as much, but if you're a good role player, you kind of got to go along with it.
Yeah, no, it was a lot of fun. Have you ever played Secret Hitler?
I have.
You have?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Yeah. So just a quick explanation is somebody is Hitler amongst the groups of people that you're playing. I promise it's fun. And then some people are fascists who are trying to get Hitler elected. And then there are the liberals who do not want that to happen. A bunch of interesting things can happen between, but if Hitler enacts 3 fascist laws, he wins. And if 3 or a certain amount of liberal, blah, blah, blah. Basically, you don't want fascist laws to be enacted. It's super interesting because nobody knows who Hitler is, and they want to get him to be in this position of power. So there's a lot of like initiative on part of the players without like actually caring about these sorts of things.
Some manipulation going on. It's fun stuff.
It gets heated, man. And like, just think about people playing any sort of card game or board game where everything's established, that one of your friends has their piece that they always love to play as, and it's got their own little traits. Haunted house on something hill.
Betrayal Hill, yeah.
Yeah, that game is super fun too for that reason. I love making my own character, but I mean, if you have this question, if you typed in Google, what character is good for a one shot? Take a step back and say, hey, DM, do you want to make characters for us?
Yeah, every one shot I've ever ran, actually, it's not true. Every one shot I've ever ran that I wanted to run, I made I made characters for people. There was one shot. I'm gonna toss Braxton under the bus here. There was one shot where we were going for a session. We were still in person a long time ago, and we were gonna be a session, and he was unable to make it. I don't remember exactly what came up, but
it was the one time I've never made it.
Yeah, something happened. I don't know. But so we decided. If I recall, there's something going on for his character in the game. I don't remember exactly, but so regardless, I decided to run a quick one shot. And so the players I was with made their own characters real quick, and it was kind of a rough one shot. But it was because it was so much off the cuff. I kind of grabbed a adventure off in a book nearby and tried to run it. But the other one shots that I've done where I like made characters, it was in the history of my homebrew world. I made characters and gave characters to people. And then I've done one that was still in the history of my world, but the characters made their own. And so we're able to kind of, I'd spend like about 5 minutes with each character, each player on their own, and say, all right, so this is how we're going to tie you into it. This is why you care about this. Just to get everyone invested before we all meet up in the tavern, and start the adventure.
Yeah.
I'd say you want to start with some combat too, something off the pretty quick to get people
to jump straight into it and create like a memory or two for people to chat about. Because if you just jump into it, you got to give one hell of a description as a DM.
Yeah, it got to be something powerful.
Yeah, and if you've got a DM saying, "Hey, make your characters, let's do this," almost be the one in your group to suggest, "Hey, if we do make characters, can you give us a couple of things that you write into our characters that can get us involved immediately in there without just giving like no backstory?" Because again, having even just one thing to hammer into, just the one desire you have, going back to our character creation and backstory episodes, super potent. And another thing that kind of leans into potency is combat. Ryan mentioned it a moment ago. It's a big part of one shot. Sometimes it's all of the one shot.
Yeah, most of them are dungeon crawly.
Yeah, like if you want to avoid the problem altogether of needing to have motivation and you just want to go mechanically through Dungeons and Dragons, you're going to run into stuff with spells. You're going to need to pick some spells, and it can be very hard to pick spells unless you're a class that, can prepare stuff on a day and they have access to all the spells. But wait a minute, hold on. One shot's only one day.
Usually.
So you're going to need to pick all your spells anyways. So Ryan, do you want to brainstorm what kind of spells these people might want to take if they have the option to make their character? What would be good for a one shot that is going to be like one day of D&D? Like there might be one short rest, one long rest.
Well, first thing, ask your DM about how, percentage of the session, what do you think is going to be combat or RP stuff? And 9 times out of 10, I would say the DM's going to say, oh, it's going to be about half and half. Because that's kind of the default DM answer. So then that makes it even tougher to decide. I would always lean for a little more combat-y focused spells than RP-based spells. But I also prefer less RP-based spells in my normal game anyway, because we do so much actual role-playing. So I don't know. It's a tough thing to try to decide because you don't want to waste a spell. If you don't want to grab a bunch of spells, then there's like 2 or 3 that you just don't touch that whole time. I remember when there was a one shot going on in our Discord a long time ago, someone said they brought a bunch of social encounter spells and there was a bunch of combat. And you don't want to be that guy who's so excited to play D&D and you come and you can't help out in combat.
Yeah, it does suck. So you really do need to, like, if your GM's giving you the culture, like, you gotta wait to find out. No, you gotta reel it back and say, like, realistically, if I picked all RP spells and no damage, they might go, okay, yeah, you'd be screwed, So that's why multi-classing is so good, because you are prepared for a lot of different stuff. But if you're going for spells, I'm a big proponent of concentration spells, man. They're big value, and a lot of the time they stay active for quite some time.
Sure.
for you to figure out what the heck is going on. Now, the problem is if you've got one going on, it's working really well for you. Don't forget, if you cast another concentration spell, it's gone.
Not even that. I mean, Braxton saw firsthand if you're facing somebody that does a lot of damage, your concentration might go by in a turn.
You don't even have
So-
a choice.
Yeah, so be careful.
So be careful on those. But I mean, you can't really go
Or
wrong.
counterspell.
Oh boy, I tweeted
Honestly,
about that.
if you're doing a one shot as a player,
Take
I'd
Counterspell.
probably recommend counterspell. I mean,
You can
hell,
take
if you're a
Counterspell.
player in any game, probably counterspell is a good choice.
And of course, I mean, it's very similar to regular play, but if you're going combat focus centric, if you're a warlock and you don't take Eldritch Blast and put Agonizing Blast on there, you're gonna regret it. But feel free to break the mold, do whatever
Go
you
listen
want.
to our spell episode, our magics episode.
yeah.
We did a couple episodes where we talked about each school of magic, our favorite spells in those schools. Then we even did an episode on just the best 9th level spells. So if you're doing a really high level one shot, then definitely go check out that one too.
Yeah, and if you know you're gonna be doing some stealthing or anything like that, it really can't hurt if one of your players has Charm Person or like even just a single use of it, because it's almost to get a jail free card for
Pass
a certain amount of
without a
time.
Trace.
Anything like that, like you're gonna
It's
want
such a strong
one or two.
spell, man. Pass plus 10 to your stealth roll. My God.
You can still roll a 10. Well, I guess theoretically it's an 11 or a 1 for your lowest, unless you have a minus to it. But that's neither here nor there. Basically, spells that happen immediately and have a very high value to them
Well,
itself.
Braxton, let's throw it on its head for a second, okay?
Throw it.
Let's take the proverbial baby of one shots and toss it for a second.
Gone.
So you are going into, let's say COVID's over. I know what a fantasy world that is, right?
Getting there.
COVID's gone. Or maybe you're all vaccinated finally. I don't know. Actually, never mind. Forget what I just said, because what I'm going to say is going to forget it. Okay, so you're COVID's over, right? It's back in the old days. All the black and white photos. You're going back in time, and you decide, hey, Braxton, I'm going to go to a local game store today. They're having some D&D stuff going on. I'm going to go over. I don't want to play Adventures League, and I heard there's like you get to the game store and you hear a guy say, hey, I'm running a one shot for people.
You know nothing.
You know nothing about it. What do you do? How do you build your character? Not even
Dang.
build your character, but like RP wise. I mean, what do you do? Do you take what we said and just do the same stuff? Obviously, you can't ask the DM stuff unless he's available for you to talk to.
You got two paths, and I think it's the same thing, honestly. One path is you make the truly versatile character that can heal themselves, because realistically, you can't trust anybody at that point. This is the cynical route. You make it to where you can do damage. Maybe it's a paladin. It's just one of the most versatile classes to have in there. So you multi-class with paladin or something. You toss a ranger or an artificer or something else in there that works really well together.
I play an
Focus on-
artificer. Now that I think about it, if I was doing a one shot.
I think we did have an artificer. That's what Dark Champion was. But focus on your stats. I mean, don't make them too astronomically overpowered, because you never know if the DM's going to be okay with that. So maybe like 2 of your stats around like 17, 18. Focus there. And make it an all-rounder. Or screw it and hope things work out and make your fantasy character that you've wanted to play and just jump in there. It's like, hey guys, here's my character. Throw it in your DM's face and say, hey, does this look okay? Know your big pain points
True.
for your character.
I'd say a safe route for stats as well, because I know there's some people that freak out about that type of stuff.
46 minus 1.
Well, yeah, but the problem with that is people can be asses about it if you show up with a crazy big stat block. But what I'm saying is you
buy.
just use the standard array or point buy, yeah. But if you do get that asshole who does care that much, it's like, oh my, dude, this is ridiculous. You'll have all +3 to your stats. That's fucked up, bro. Find a different table. You don't want to play with that guy anyway. Sounds like an ass.
Yeah. And then in the roleplay side of things, again, just come up with those very simple desires that you think could be fulfilled in a one shot. Like, I want to get all of the gold all the time ever. If somebody's offering gold, I don't care what it is, I'm doing it. Make your character have a very direct desire.
Good point.
And then you're done. You're good. You want all the magic items. You want to kill everything.
I'd also say one
Everything.
shot, specifically the way I'm talking about them at local game stores and stuff. We did an episode a while back on dealing with problem players and like breaking up with your players. That type of stuff, I'd say elevate it by 10 for local game store one shots, because you're going to come across some really terrible experiences. But Kenneth is a very good example of this. He found most of his players from doing local game store stuff like that. Then they all left the game store like, let's just play together. Because there are some good people that come to those things. But you're really getting everybody. You have no filter on who's coming and who's not. So be prepared. Don't be afraid to just get up and walk away if you're getting pissed off at something that's going on. If you got a DM that's really railroading you guys down a one-shot path, and you're not having a fun time, or they're gimping your character because they don't understand the rules or something, or they understand it just in the way they want things to work, just get out of there.
Mm-hmm.
You're better than that.
Yeah, literally, my character gets up, runs out of the dungeon, and leaves, and so do I. Vanish into a cloud of brimstone. Poof. So I think we probably should have started with that too, and I didn't even realize, because I am not the most comfortable around strangers all the time.
So I used to go to some of the local game stores. I've never DM'd or played at them, but I talked to one of the guys there. He was like, hey, you should come DM sometime. Like, they pay you with like in-store credit. And I told him no. I said, I'm not doing that. And he was like, why? And I told him a lot of the horror stories I've heard and seen from it. And a lot of the ones also force you to do Adventurers League, and I don't want to do Adventurers League. So
I don't think I could deal with the metagaming.
Yeah, I feel like I'm crapping all over local game store stuff, but trust me, there is some benefit. There is some good parts that come out of the LGS type stuff, but it's just something to be aware of, I would say.
Well, you could, if you wanted to do that, you could try to set it up to where, hey, local game store, can I run a survey? And I don't know what's going on. Maybe you don't have to pay this DM, but can I run a survey, and people, if they want to join, they put their stuff in the hat, and I select the players that I want just to make it a bit safe. You could do that.
Well, there's two different versions of LGS kind of D&D playing. There's some where you have to pay, if you're a player, you have to pay like $5 to get involved. And those are probably a little more, I don't want to say exclusive, but there's not as many just random guys walking off the street and be like, hey, I'll play D&D today. Why not? And then there's like I just said, the opposite side where it's completely free. You just come in, show up at Friday at 6 p.m. That might be a little bit more wish-washy. So it's something to investigate if you really do want to play one-shots or get into D&D. I recommend at least investigating your local game store. Probably, I guess, once COVID's over would probably be a little better option for that. But I know a lot of the ones around where we live host them on the weekends or will. So it's something to look into. Just be aware that you might get some weirdness there, but
it's so interesting. There's characters I'm excited to play as and builds that interest me, but a lot of the fulfillment I get out of D&D that one shots often can't offer is that RP and character development.
Yes,
it's not like a fancy deck of Magic the Gathering that I've built from the gods and I've spent money on, and I've got this wombo combo that I just want to get out there. You can certainly do that in D&D, but I think through this conversation, I've realized I would just prefer to be given a character, as long as I'm comfortable with.
I would too.
Like who they are, it's not stepping on any of my boundaries. I don't have to do a wonky, weird voice. The DM is not like you have to put this funny hat on, dude. I don't want to put a funny hat on. Stop.
I'll put it on. I'll be that character.
See, he's that character. He'll do it. But that's super interesting.
One shots and Adventurers League are definitely built for a certain type of people. And I say one shots along the lines of game stores and stuff, that just people show up and decide, hey, I'll join in for this person's game. They're much more focused on, I'd say, the mechanics and stuff than the RP. Adventurers League is fun in the fact I think Brax, I think you would get a kick out of it besides the RP part of it, just because you're able to slowly cultivate the min-max best character, because you can take that one character to every Adventurers League game that you go to. So it's interesting, but it's definitely for a very specific type of player.
Yeah, if a game was solely combat, I could definitely do that. But otherwise, I don't know. There's two sides of D&D, and we really haven't explored the soul combat design this stuff. And we're definitely not experts on being able to talk about it. Maybe we should learn more. Figure that out.
It's just not what I enjoy. But hey,
No?
maybe we should dip into just
Really?
straight combat. No.
I mean, not just straight combat. Like there can be moments in game where there's like a trap. You need to coordinate in character on like, hey man, there's a trap. Don't step on it. You say that in character. I mean, there's that.
Yeah.
Is not Russell your jimmies?
No, I like that. That's like RP. That's like RP
Yeah.
stuff. What do you mean?
I mean, there's gonna be games, but not when I mean RP, I mean like RP. Like y'all are crying at the table. Little Johnny just died. Either
little
want
Johnny.
that or flip it on its head and it's like 2% RP and 98% combat. If I'm running a game with people who know their spells and combat one round happens like bam, 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 just as if I was playing Fire Emblem and I know all my units are and we're done.
I get bored at combat that I don't think is important. That's why I try to, like, for our games, I try to make combat at least mean something. Like, you might not understand it at first, but then there's like a story that happens about it later or something. But like, if I'm a player and I'm in a just straight combat, for me, I just don't dig it.
I mean, change the context from there is RP and there can be combat to care about. Flip it on its head and it's truly just mechanical marvels. Like you really are deriving satisfaction from a strategy game, the strategy part of it. So the engagement is DM is expecting you to just not be able to overcome this combat, and you've got to prove them wrong with your powerful character and your teamwork.
That's Tomb of Horrors, my friend.
Tomb of Horrors.
Old Mr. Gygax.
Tomb of Horror, is that the pre-Strahd thing?
No, Tomb of Horrors was the dungeon that has since been recreated and added to what's the Yawning Portal? I don't remember what the whole title is, but Yawning Portal book. And Tomb of Horrors, Gary Gygax created because he just got pissed off at guys that were at conventions that were like, yeah, I'm so badass, I can take on anything you put in front of me. He's like, okay, I'll put this in front of you.
Well, if you're Wizards of the Coast and you made Magic the Gathering next to Yu-Gi-Oh, which is the most like janky card game ever. Yu-Gi-Oh is wonky, dude. Don't play Yu-Gi-Oh.
I knew a guy that was pro in Yu-Gi-Oh for a little bit.
That doesn't mess around. Those games can end immediately.
That guy's crazy.
Whoo boy. But, I find that interesting because J-Dog's combat in the one-shot that we did, as a paladin, I had a lot of protection spells. And it was interesting because with that specific path for that paladin, they couldn't protect themselves. So it was constantly like, I'm just going to block it on me. And then I realized, oh, wait, okay, these guys are trapped in Edward's Black Tentacles. I was enlarged by one of the characters who was succeeding on con saves while getting beaten down by these tentacles. Nice. I went, can I give them full cover by sitting in front of them? And I do it. And then the DM goes, okay, Braxton, now you've got to have a strength save against these tentacles because I just willingly walked into it and didn't realize that. But I'm enlarged, so I've got advantage on strength checks and saves. It was just like really satisfying itself.
Yeah.
In and of itself. And eventually it ended up, well, I guess I can tell you this. I might use my one-shot character, and this is one of my recommendations when you're making a one-shot character, is if you're a DM and something interesting happens, use them in your game at some point. Do a little callback. For me, my character was a paladin, like of good faith, of something that was not evil. And they were also a warlock. So it's like an interesting like duality there, and a portal ends up opening because of a wild magic effect of an artifact of the phylactery we're trying to destroy. A portal opens up to the Shadowfell. I grab the Lich, bring them in the portal. Not the best idea, but the Lich dies there.
Okay.
And it closes on me. So now I've got my one-shot character just perusing through the Shadowfell. Maybe my players.
No, that's a second one-shot right there, man.
How cool is that?
Escape from the Shadowfell.
Exactly. It was kind of interesting, too, because there was a poison cloud there, and our DM ruled that I needed to get out of 2 rounds of poison damage to successfully do it. So my character could have died, but I managed to get out. It was a good time. So you can have stuff like that. If you put the effort into your character, combat can be really satisfying, or the one-shot can just end, and you all can go home and have a nice ice cream or something.
I don't have ice cream at home, man.
I have
froyo.
Cookies from Panera Bread, and I'm going to eat them.
Cookies are good shit. And
it's going to be a good time. Anything else?
No, man. I thought it was Braxton earlier, but we've been kind of jumping around and considering doing these kind of shorter. I mean, we're still at like 45 minutes now. It's not like it's super short, but there's some topics that we've kind of tossed around before for the podcast and be like, well, we probably can't do a full episode on this. And we've been kind of considering trying to mix that up a little bit. And even if we can't do a full hour, we might still do some of these smaller, interesting kind of topics just to, I don't know, because it's still good to talk about this type of stuff and still get it off the table. So I think we're going to start trying to mix those into the running every so often.
And like the monster stuff, if we want to bring those back, those would almost certainly be shorter episodes.
Yeah, we'll do some monster stuff soon for sure.
Hell yeah. You know, I thought this was going to be a way more in-depth topic, and then it always just ends up, you know, have a session 0, do what you want to do, and don't be a dick.
You can't have a session 0 for one-shots. I mean, you can, but it'd be kind of weird, wouldn't it?
In theory, just say, hey, DM, what are we doing? What's going on? What's happening?
And
anything I like, anything I don't like? Your
one shot turns out to be a 3-shot.
It's an unwritten law of one-shots that often I haven't done one that's a one-shot.
Every one-shot I've ever ran, I had to cut it. I had to like remove a room to make sure we finished in time.
Yeah, I don't know how to. J-Dog did it somehow. It ran like 6 hours, which is on the longer side for D&D novices. Yeah, it was long. And one of our players is not on the same side of the earth as we were, and it was like way into the morning, like almost like morning, like wake up.
I try to end mine around 5 hours max. I cannot do anything longer than that.
It was getting rough, but the combat got so engaging that we were just like, oh, we got to do it. We got to finish it. We got to get going. Just like we have to today. If you want to chat with us on the social media, you can reach out to us at Dungeon Crawl Pod, both on Twitter and the Instagram. If you want to get lost in our Gmail, the dungeoncrawlpod@gmail.com is where that goes. I will try to find you. I promise. Like a hay in a needle stack or a needle in a haystack. Maybe you're the one I don't want to find. I don't know. We have a Discord that I've mentioned many times throughout this episode. It's in the link tree in the description of anything that you're listening to. And what do you mean, Braxton? Well, maybe you're on Spotify. Maybe you're on YouTube at the Dungeon Crawl YouTube channel. Search the Dungeon Crawl Pod on YouTube. Find us there or stick with the audio version, whatever you want to do. We also have an actual play podcast known as the Dungeon Chronicles. Link to that is also in the link tree, but I'm the DM there. Ryan plays a character that's he yelled once at one of my NPCs to get him beer on the table.
I don't know if I'd say yelled.
It was a very stern, why isn't there beer? Like, I don't know what it was, but if you want to go see that episode, the 7th one just came out.
Yeah, the episode that he's talking about comes out this week, so go check it out.
Oh, shit.
Yeah.
Oh, you're right. Ryan, I've never seen Ryan get like angry or like super assertive like that in an aggressive way. And I was just, everybody was like,
That's called role playing, everybody.
If you want to see that good role playing, go check it out. And you can see Ryan uncharacteristically be in character. I don't know if that's a phrase. Well, I'm gonna step out of here. I'm gonna leave in theory.
Yeah, I'll let someone else in here for a minute. Yeah, he's gone, everybody. All right, I'm gonna have my good friend here say this next part for me.
Hello, this is Salty from the Dungeon Chronicles. I just wanted to make sure you all head over to Apple Podcasts and go to type in the Dungeon Crawl Podcast.
Yeah, that's right, Salty. Good job, man. I appreciate it.
And then hit the 5-star button and rate them 5 stars because I love this podcast. It is so good. It's my favorite. Head out down to the where you type down and
say your catchphrase, Salty.
Yeah, say, "Here comes Salty."
Down below. Yeah, that's sick, dude. That's perfect. Salty's heading out.
See you guys. See you next time for the Dungeon Chronicles next week on Monday.
I was not expecting that at all whatsoever.
Yeah, Salty said a good point there. Well, it should be live next Monday.
Oh my god!
On the Dungeon Crawl Network Twitch channel. So go check it out, guys.
Oh my god! Yeah, we're swapping to that.
Yeah.
Holy heck! Dude, that one got me. I think that's my favorite one of all time. Is there anything else that we forgot? I don't know. Might have something fun coming next week. Something really cool. Something you guys.
Yeah, we'll see. And then we're planning on doing a class episode sometime soon. If there's a specific class that you want us to cover, then send us a message, hop in the Discord, whatever. If not, we'll just Roll a D8. How many classes are there?
Including Artificer, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9.
Roll a
D9.
D9 and see what comes up. So,
Yeah. We'll
actually,
figure it
I guess actually D8 because we did one of them.
out. Oh. Didn't we do 2 of them?
No, we just did Wizard, I think.
Damn, we did the most boring one.
But we did
first.
Wizard, and then we got hung up on spells. We did spells for like 2 weeks, 3 weeks actually,
Spells were fun.
because we realized we didn't talk about spells yet.
We'll save for Warlock for last, and then I'll flop on my face
Oh, no.
when we do it. It's not going to be as good as you guys think it would be. Warlock, good. Episode. Oh, what if we just did that?
Warlock,
What if
good
we
episode over.
Yeah, just
But
Warlock
we spent
good.
multiple episodes saying how terrible the Warlock is.
Warlock bad. Episode over.
Well, no, Warlock good. Asterisk, maybe.
Maybe.
Sometimes.
Maybe. And we're maybe the Dungeon Crawl. Thanks for calling with us. He's been Ryan.
He's been Braxton. This is the year of the crawl. Sorry, damn it, you're the dungeon. mess
I don't
up
think
every
we've gotten that
time.
right a single time. Holy shit. One day.
I even think about it too. I'm like, all right, I gotta make sure I say this right, and then
It's a tradition now.
I guess so.
See you sometime in the future.
Nope, we'll see you next week, same time as always, guys.
We'll see you next week, same time as always. Okay, bye.